Senator Williams.
Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy President. I can't start my debate without referring to Senator Wright's comments. There's some of them. She's very concerned about the wildlife, the wonderful wildlife. Well, Madam Acting Deputy President, it is amazing how the Greens are just happy to lock up country. Lock it up and leave it. And let it burn. Let it burn. Senator Di Natale's in the chamber. Let's talk about the Black Saturday bushfires, when the thousands of hectares of land were burnt because of the fuel levels. And 90 million, I'll go there, all right, love to go there. Lock up country and leave it and don't control the fuel levels on it, burn the country, kill the animals, 90 million tonnes of CO2 in the atmosphere. That's not counted because the grass will grow again and that'll neutralise according to the Greens. Just amazing. What you need to do is talk to Professor John Wamsley and learn about managing the environment. You have no idea. You are environmental wreckers, that's what you are, because you lock up country, let the fuel grow, let the lightning strike it and burn it from one end to the other. Go up the Pilliga 4 years ago when it burnt from one end to the other and you're concerned about the koalas. Well, I'm very pleased when I showed a Green senator this week a photo of a koala out in front of my house. It won't get burnt because the farm where that koala lives is managed. The fuel levels are kept low. Madam Acting Deputy President, let's go back to what went wrong and why. In the last 100 years, 50% of the threatened species are listed in Australia and 50% of species that have become extinct are in Australia. I'll tell you what it is. Along Australia came a thing called a fox, and it killed the native animals that grazed the country, that kept the fuel levels down. And now we have the Greens and the National Parks Association locking up country, the Labor Party in bed with the Greens in New South Wales locking up all this land, and it's not managed. And it'll burn and it'll burn. And it's only a matter of time that the red gum forest in the south of the state around Deniliquin will burn and destroy that timber and the animals that live in it. As I said, you must control your country and manage it. And this is a problem. So much land is locked up and it is not managed. And that is a fact of life. They won't allow grazing. No, don't allow sheep and cattle in there to reduce the fuel levels. And once the fuel levels get greater than 5 to 10 tonnes to the hectare, a 40-degree day, a 50-kilometre wind, the fire is uncontrollable. And some of that country that burned in Victoria, Madam Acting Deputy President, had up to 150 tonnes to the hectare of fuel, grass and twigs 6 millimetres of diameter and less. And it was uncontrollable, and the lives were lost. It was an absolute disgrace. And one day you'll learn to manage the environment instead of letting it burn and destroy the timber with the hot fires in the crown of the trees, the fires of that hot, Madam Acting Deputy President, the native grasses and the seed on the ground, and God help the animals there. As I said, I'm glad that I manage my little place that I live in. I'm sure Senator Nash and her husband David are exactly the same. And when it comes to environmentalists, the greatest environmentalists in this country are our farmers. They have the national interest of their land for their generations to come. And if you want to look after the farmers, the first thing you need to look after the environment is the farmers actually have money. But no, you want to stop the live exports of cattle and let the cattle producers in Australia go broke. What a disgraceful situation that was when you were part of the last government. You signed agreement when you banned the live exports of cattle to Indonesia and caused so much financial suffering to those, especially at the top end, who were devastated with the jobs and the loss of income, and now they have to face their bank manager. Madam Acting Deputy President, a very interesting...
Sorry, Senator Williams, point of order.
Yes, certainly.
Madam Acting Deputy President, I know we give people quite a bit of latitude in this place to range freely across many topics when discussing a bill, but we are 4 minutes into this and all we have heard is a critique of controlled burns, which have nothing to do with this bill, and we have had a critique now of the live animal export trade. And I'm just trying to work out how either of those points are even the faintest bit relevant to the bill that we're discussing.
There's no point of order. Continue, Senator Williams.
Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy President. And thank you, Senator Waters. I enjoy your interjection. Thank you. How disappointing that is. It's amazing, and Senator Nash was with me on the weekend. We had a friend at the, we're talking about the environment at our National Party Council. No, actually what we're talking about is he travelled in an aeroplane with the Green Senator who carried a leather handbag. A leather handbag. And flew in an aeroplane made of aluminium from bauxite and lots of electricity. The hypocrisy is amazing. It really is. It is totally amazing. So let's talk about the EPBC Act. Oh, liven them up on my right, Madam Acting Deputy President. That's good. Who introduced the Act? Come on, answer the question. Who introduced it? Senator Robert Hill, Liberal Senator in this place, introduced the Act to protect the environment. That's what we're about, is protecting the environment. As simple as that. And I know the truth hurts you.
Senator Williams, please ignore the interjections.
Oh, it's very difficult, Madam Acting Deputy President, when you hear the rubbish coming from it. It's very hard to ignore, but I'll take your advice and I will ignore it, Madam Acting Deputy President. The background of this bill amends the Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act 1999 in relation to bilateral agreements by providing that states and territories can be accredited for approval decisions on large coal mining and coal seam gas developments likely to have a significant impact on a water resource. All states and territories can be declared under the Act for the purpose of requesting advice from the Independent Expert Scientific Committee. States and territories undertake to seek and take advice from the IESC for approval bilateral agreements which may have a significant impact on water resource. The Independent Expert Scientific Committee provide advice to the Commonwealth about the operation of a bilateral agreement in relation to a large coal mining and coal seam gas developments likely to have a significant impact on water resource. An approval process can be completed when an approval bilateral agreement is suspended, cancelled or ceases to apply to a particular action. I'll repeat that, Madam Acting Deputy President, so the Greens can hear it. An approval process can be completed when an approval bilateral agreement is suspended, cancelled or ceases to apply to a particular action. State and territory processes that meet the appropriate standards can be accredited for bilateral agreements. Madam Acting Deputy President, we went to the election promising a one-stop environmental shop. It's called reducing red tape, reducing green tape and reducing costs. The Coalition's commitments to high environmental standards remain. I'll give an example, the Green Army program, $300 million over 4 years. Just a couple of weeks ago, Madam Acting Deputy President, I met Envite, E-N-V-I-T-E at Byron Bay, revegetating coastline, part of the Green Army program, carrying out environmental improvements. This legislation is about the establishment of a one-stop shop and slashing that red tape and that cost. If a business wishes to put in a plan for a development, why should they go through one lot of paper after paper after paper, questions after questions after questions, feed it to the federal government, then do the same thing to the state government, and in many cases to the local government? It is triplication, that's what it is. And it costs time, it costs money, and it has no benefit in the long term, because the one-stop shop can go through the whole process of every issue. No one in this place is about destroying the future for our children. No one. And that's why we on this side of the Parliament are adamant that the high level of standards of environmental protection must be maintained. A report in 2012, Madam Acting Deputy President, 44% of businesses spend between 1 and 5 hours a week complying with government regulatory requirements, sitting there filling out forms, applying for forms, reporting business activity, completing compliance forms. 72% of business said that the time they spend on red tape had increased in the preceding 2 years. Now, cost to business is cost to our nation. Never forget it. It is a fact we live in a free enterprise economy, and our nation's wealth is derived through the private sector. Governments don't have money. We take money off the people. John Law's been telling me that on the radio for 40 years. Governments do not have money, and the stronger the private sector, the stronger the whole nation. And if you want to look after the environment, the first thing you need is money. And that's why I say, have a look at a map of Australia. Well, I don't know exactly what is in the hands of farmers and growers, but I would guess 50% plus. And how can they look after the environment? How can they be green when so many are so far in the red? That is the issue, and I can take you back, as I mentioned, the banning of the live exports of cattle. What an absolute disgrace, and those people did not have enough money to pay their bank interest every month, let alone look after the environment. If you fill the farmers' pockets with money, they will spend that money on preserving their land for future generations. And that is the most vital thing. I bought a small block of land 12 months ago or so, Madam Acting Deputy President, 400 acres. The first thing I did was got the bulldozer in. The first thing. And I get a laugh from Senator Rihanna over on my right. And I rebuilt the contour banks. I pushed them up 4 or 5 feet high, so that when we get a thunderstorm, that valuable topsoil is not washed away. The greatest asset of our nation is our topsoil. You must have good soil, healthy soil to grow healthy food. You have that soil washed down a river, it is gone forever. And that is the first thing I did for environmental reasons, to protect the soil. And it is vital. But we give little attention to soil, we give more attention to trees in many respects. From those on my right having a bit of a chuckle over there, you know, trees are more important. Look around us. Everything we see in this building, it either comes from trees, the timber I'm touching now, or it's dug out of the ground. And the big difference is this. What is dug out of the ground is finite. It will finish. The hole will be emptied. But the tree is renewable. It is a renewable resource. Just like growing a wheat crop and harvesting a wheat crop, timber is the same. Amazing, I went to the Pilliga State Forest just a few weeks ago. And here's the area left for timber milling. All the poor, twisted, inferior timber is there for the timber mills to mill. It is useless. And the good timber is locked up in the national park. Well, we know what's going to happen to that. It's going to burn, nothing sure. As sure as I stand here, that will burn. Madam Acting Deputy President, 54% of those people in business said that complying with government regulations had prevented them making changes to grow or expand their business. We talk about jobs. You need to grow your business. First of all, you need to maintain your business so you don't go broke. Then grow your business to employ people. 54% said that complying with government regulations had prevented them making changes to grow or expand their business. Red tape stifles jobs, investment and expansion. And we are committed to cutting red tape and green tape. This was an election promise that we stand by, a one-stop shop to see that we remove the costs on business, to see the environment is protected through the one-stop shop, no matter what application it is. As I said, legislation is cutting duplication of federal, state and local processes, keeping it simple. Simplify environmental approvals process with a single entry point. It is just simple. One lot of bookwork, one lot of approval, but stringent regulations with a high bar as far as environmental improvements go. The business and the community benefits from these simple procedures of simply reducing the time and the cost of filling in forms. The cost is a big saving to business. The Commonwealth maintains an important role under the one-stop shop, and that is a fact. The Commonwealth maintains that important role. Commonwealth remains accountable for its obligations under the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act 1999, including international treaties. It retains an approval role for actions in Commonwealth waters, on Commonwealth land or by Commonwealth agencies. Having an ongoing role is in ensuring the commitments under the bilateral agreements are met. State and territories must demonstrate their approval process meet the high environmental standards set out in the EPBC Act. I'll repeat that, Madam Acting Deputy President. State and territories must demonstrate their approval process meets the high environmental standards set out in the EPBC Act. The one-stop shop will also promote sharing of environmental information and data between business, government and the community, and that's important. When you gather information, it is important to share it so that all can learn more and maintain that high level of environmental standards. Transparent and accessible environmental information will improve our collective ability to understand and sustainably manage our environment. By eliminating the dual state-federal approval process, business will not have to jump over the same hurdle multiple times, but the same higher environmental standards will be maintained. The one-stop shop will also promote the increased use of strategic approaches to improve the environment, such as strategic environmental assessments under the EPBC Act. Strategic assessments consider the cumulative impacts of environmental pressures and plan for better environmental outcomes. Business will have lower costs, certainty for investors, boost productivity, create jobs, faster approval process. Transparency will mean the environment will be protected. 5-yearly review of agreements. Escalated disputes resolution process to resolve any issues. Federal Environment Minister can still call in the assessment and or approval of a project. That is most important. In extreme circumstances, the Minister has the power under the EPBC Act to suspend or cancel any agreement. That is another important part to repeat, Madam Acting Deputy President. In extreme circumstances, the Minister, Federal Minister, has the power under the EPBC Act to suspend or cancel an agreement. This is simply a case of reducing costs and red tape and paperwork and green tape, and an election promise to develop a one-stop environmental shop. It does not lower the bar one bit about environmental standards. Sure, many around me oppose mining, and I could get quite amazed at, what do we do? Drive around in cars made of tree leaves or ironbark off an ironbark tree? No, those things we actually have these days come from the ground. I know many in this place opposite me would like to return us to the Stone Age. That probably will not happen with a bit of luck unless they happen to get their way. Not including you, Senator Bullock, I might add. Delete you from that. and so, Madam Acting Deputy President, I commend this bill. It is about cost reduction, paperwork, red tape, green tape, an election promise, and that's why this bill should be supported.
Thank you, Senator